Hey scholars, welcome to our last section of chapter 18. We're looking at 18.6. How should we deal with the air pollution problem that we have here in the United States as well as worldwide? What have we done and what are we continuing to do to try to help better this situation as far as air pollution? So let's take a look at it today. In the United States, we have come up with the Clean Air Act. This is probably our best act to help deter from air pollution as far as our country is concerned. And the Clean Air Acts, the first one was established in 1970. It was amended in 1977 as well as 1990. And the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, has kind of helped set some of these standards for the Clean Air Acts. This is the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, the NAAQS. They're in the lab that we are doing this week. It's referring to what standards they have set. And they're really set for 6 outdoor pollutants specifically, and what high levels or what levels can be actually released by plants and things that are still doing industry. National emission standards for 188 hazardous air pollutants, or what we call HAPs, hazardous air pollutants, have been set by the EPA as well, and they are also in charge of a toxic release inventory. So if you are a large business that is producing within industry, you've got to meet these different standards by the EPA. If not, the EPA can investigate you, and also you report to them each year as well your emissions that you are doing for your plant, whether they're hazardous air pollutants or those 6 outdoor air pollutants, and also anything that's toxic that is being released. As far as that has to go, that all has to go to the EPA. And if anything seems off, they can investigate and shut your plant down, as well as a couple other different things. So that is what we've, as far as regulation goes, that's what we've done here in the United States. The good news in the U.S. is that we have just seen a decrease in emissions overall. And we've also started the use of low sulfur diesel fuel, which cuts down on pollution as well. So that is a good news. We're not perfect, that's by any means, but we have done some things to definitely help our air quality situation out here in the U.S. The developing countries, though, there is a lot more air pollution because they are still trying to become industrialized. That is, for instance, China and some of those other places, Indonesia, are still becoming more heavily air polluted. So one of our case studies is, the United States air pollution. It still can be improved. It's not perfect. We still rely more on cleanup than we do prevention of the pollution, which is a problem. We all know that. It also costs us money. We raise fuel efficiency for cars, SUVs, and light trucks, so we definitely need to do that. Better regulation of emissions of motorcycles and 2-cycle gasoline engines like lawn mowers, things like that. We don't have any really regulations over those. And we also need to regulate air pollution for ocean-going ships in American ports. We can't control international trade. We can at least control when they're in our ports. Why are airports exempt from any regulations? Because, again, they are flying internationally. It's hard to regulate as far as their emission standards go. So they are kind of exempt from those regulations. We still need to regulate greenhouse gas emissions more. We've never done that because we never signed the Kyoto Protocol. Ultra-fine particles are not regulated. So even though we have, those are some damaging ones as well. There's coarse and fine particles, but ultrafine are not really regulated nearly as much. Hard to really regulate because it's hard to really get a good grasp of them. But we have nanotechnology and technology that can do that. And also in our urban areas, our ozone layer in the troposphere is still too high. So we need to do some things about that. Also, what about indoor air pollution? We don't have much to regulate that. We still need better enforcement of the Clean Air Acts, which means we need the EPA to step in a lot more than they do and do investigations and all that kind of stuff to figure out, make sure all these plants are running smoothly and cleanly. And it also is intense pressure needed from citizens to make improvements on all of this air quality. Again, I don't think none of us realize, because it's not as big of a deal. It is in China, but it isn't as big of a deal here now that we have those Clean Air Acts. But I think there's still lobbying groups that need to be pushing for even making more improvements to Clean Air Acts than the EPA. All right, emission trading or cap and trade program, using a marketplace to reduce outdoor air pollution. Well, we're going to do or have done an activity on this with emissions trading. Hopefully you found that interesting and got the gist of that. But there's been mixed reactions to the program. Basically it's allowing you to buy or sell pollution rights, how much you can pollute. We've done this with sulfur dioxide. It has gone down. The emissions have gone down significantly using these programs, and we're thinking about trying the nitrogen dioxides in the future and seeing how those work. But there are mixed reactions, positives and negatives to this program because you are buying and trading pollution rights, which no one should be able to pollute anyway, but at least in mass amounts. So that is still an issue, and we need to start setting those a little bit lower and lower as the years go on so we can increase our standards and have better air quality. There are many ways to reduce outdoor air pollution. We have sulfur dioxide emissions from U.S. electric power plants have been decreased by 66%, nitrogen oxide emissions by 41%, and particulate by 28%, just because of that Clean Air Act and further enforcement by the EPA. Some of the older plants are not governed by the same regulations as the ones being built now because of the grandfather clause, especially if they were built prior to the 1970 Clean Air Act, but most of them are all been updated most of the time from right now. Also, new cars are having better and better emissions and have setting emission standards and also better fuel economy. So here's take a look at some solutions here. This is for stationary air pollution. Burn low sulfur coal. Remove sulfur from coal itself. Convert coal to liquid or gaseous fuel, and shift to less polluting energy sources. Those are preventive measures. Clean up or the output solutions are disperse emissions above the thermal layer with tall smokestacks. So that way you don't have that thermal layer causing that air pollution here in the lower parts of the troposphere. Remove pollutants after combustion would be nice. So kind of a filter on your smokestack. And then tax each unit of pollution produced. That was another cleanup method, or at least, actually, I think it's more of a preventative measure, but I guess you can put it in the cleanup measure. All right, motor vehicle or moving air pollution. Use prevention. Use mass transit, walk or bike. Use less polluting fuel sources. Improve fuel efficiency. Get older polluted cars off the road and get newer ones that are better as far as energy as well as polluting as well. Better, get those on the road. Give large tax write-offs or rebates for buying low polluting, energy efficient vehicles, which they are starting to do now. Definitely look into it in the future when you actually go to buy your own car. Cleanup. Require emissions control devices. Definitely got to require those. As far as like catalytic converters go, to help pull air. That's in your exhaust system to help kind of take out some of those polluters. Inspect cars and exhaust systems twice a year. We do it once a year here. As far as having your car inspected. Set strict emission standards as well. Might help as well. All right, so reducing indoor air pollution should be a higher priority because it does have a greater human health threat. But what can be done? We got to look at prevention and cleanup. So let's take a look at it. So prevention for indoor air is clean your ceiling tiles and line your AC ducts to prevent release of mineral fibers. Ban smoking or limit it to well-ventilated areas, which we've done here in North Carolina. Set stricter formaldehyde emission standards for carpet, furniture, and building materials. I think there's going to be a key one right there. Prevent radon infiltration. Again, we don't have as much problem with that having basements here, but we still have concrete slabs that our garage sit on top of, but we do have better ventilation there. Use office machines in well-ventilated areas. In our school, we don't. They're in small rooms with no windows, which definitely have lots of, I can smell the chemicals going on in there when they're starting to warm up in the morning. Less polluting substitutes for harmful cleaning agents, paints, and other products would be good. For cleanup, use adjustable fresh air vents for workspaces. Increase intake of outside air. Change air more frequently or change your filter more frequently. Circulate the building's air through a rooftop greenhouses. That's definitely a more intensive method. Use efficient venting systems for wood-burning stoves, and then use exhaust hoods for stoves and appliances and burn natural gas to get that stuff out of there and also disperse it more evenly. So what can you do? Test for radon and formaldehyde in your home. Do not buy furniture and products containing formaldehyde. Remove your shoes before entering your house to reduce dust and lead and pesticides. Test your house for asbestos and check for any crumbling asbestos material built prior to 1980. Do not store gas, solvents, other volatile hazard chemicals inside your home or attached garage, maybe a separate garage. If you smoke, do it outside. Make sure wood-burning stoves, fireplaces are well vented and maintained as far as cleanliness goes, so that you're not getting all that stuff in your house. And also install carbon monoxide detectors in all sleeping areas to help you stay safe. Some output approaches. We need to put more emphasis on preventative approaches as well as output approaches. We need to do a new shift to preventing outdoor and indoor air pollution rather than dealing with it after the fact, and that's all going to come from pressure from us and citizens. So outdoor solutions: improve energy efficiency, reduce fossil fuel use overall, rely more on low polluting natural gases, rely more on renewable energy, and transfer energy efficiency, renewable energy, all to developing countries. We got to get all those to developing countries. That's where they're having the largest problem. Indoor, we got to reduce poverty. That would help. Distribute cheap and efficient cook stove or solar cookers to poor families in developing countries. Reduce or ban indoor smoking, which we're on pace with in North Carolina, and develop simple and cheap tests for indoor pollution such as particulates, radon, formaldehyde, etc., which allow people to monitor that better. Hope you guys have enjoyed this chapter on Chapter 18 on air pollution. We'll see you guys next time with Chapter 20 looking at water pollution.